All right. Hello, everybody. I still don't have control of my right arm. I thought of a sling, but I can't move it as well as I'd like. So it's been 8 weeks and a day since I had my surgery. Um, it doesn't hurt too bad, but I just can't move it a whole lot. I've started physical therapy, and yesterday they were trying to stretch out a little bit more, which was a little comfortable, but I guess that's what I need to do. Obviously, I got some home physical therapy I'm doing, which is hopefully helping a little bit. Um, it's just uh, just the way it is. And the doctor told me it'd be probably 6 months before I bowled again. So taking my time and just hopefully when I'll be able to bowl just as well as I did before the pain first initially happened last December. So I didn't have a very good season on the PBA 50 tour, but I really don't know that the shoulder was the cause of it. It may have been an influence, but I don't think it was the reason for it. So, hello, Mr. Dixon. Oh. So let me see here. I got. There we go. All right, so I got a couple of questions already. So let's see. A couple of these are really old, so I thought I'd probably go to those first. So I had somebody posted a few weeks ago about they were watching the 1995 Rochester Open, and interviewed me and asked how much longer I planned on bowling. Well, back then, when I first went on tour, there were very few guys that were over 40 that were bowling full time on the tour. So I kind of thought, when I get to 40 or 45, I probably would retire. Uh, Fortunately, or whatever, I managed to bowl pretty well in my 40s. I was actually bowler of the decade in my 40s. So I had a player of the year when I was 50. And I kept saying another couple of years. And then after I turned 50, I didn't bowl as well, but the tour wasn't quite like it was when I was first on tour. So it was the requirements for me to continue to bowl as much, to be basically a touring player or whatever you want to call it, really wasn't that much. So it was basically about a 7-week commitment on the year. And I was bowling the senior tour. So I figured bowling the regular tour would help me be competitive on the senior tour, which I think it did. I didn't bowl as well. I didn't bowl very well on the regular tour after I was 50. Unfortunately, my game deteriorated pretty good after that. I had some arthritis issues with my hand, and I don't know if that was part of it, but I had my span re-drilled when I was 50, and then my next year on tour wasn't very great. So, but I was bowling all well with the seniors and stuff, and I knew the young guys on tour were pretty good, but like I said, the commitment to bowl on tour wasn't excessive, so I managed to kind of stay on tour, and probably a lot longer than I would have had it been a 30-week schedule like we used to have back when I first was on tour. So another question was, when was the first time I learned to bowl? Actually, I learned to bowl when I was 11, and then I bowled for like a year, bowled once in a while for a few years after that, but it was like once a year or something like that. And then when I was a senior in high school, I got back into bowling, and then I had some things happen and didn't bowl for like 9 months, and then so I was really about 19 when I really got into bowling, and by the time I was 20, I was good enough to join bowl PBA regionals and stuff. So it was I kind of improved pretty quick on that. My first tour title was when I was 26. Went out on tour full time in 1983. Made my first couple shows that year. Didn't make any shows the second year, 1984. Made one show in 85, but I started making a lot of finals. And then the next year, everything just kind of gelled, and I made 9 shows and 3 wins and was Player of the Year in 1986. So 86 was my first year of winning a national title. So I was probably, I don't know the exact number, but about my 100th tournament, probably a little more than that I won my very first title. So guys today would say, "Oh my God, that's like 5 years on tour." So, somebody asked, "Do I use the same pin position on every ball?" I'm really not that picky about it. Gary Faulkner is a good friend of mine here, a great bowler here at the Villages. He drills most of my stuff. I pretty much let him do what he wants. He kind of knows what I want to see. I don't hook the ball a lot, so I'm usually trying to get the ball to hook a little bit more. And I let him do it. If I like the ball, I use it again. If I don't like it, then I might not use it so much. How many different oil patterns on the PBA 50 tour versus a regular PBA? Basically, they can use the same patterns. They tended to use a couple of patterns in several different events on the senior tour. I really don't pay that much attention to the regular tour that much. I mean, as far as the lane conditions, everybody thinks they're bowling on easy shots, and even the senior tour, and the senior tour probably tweak them a little bit to make them a touch softer, a little bit easier for the seniors than the regular tour. But even that, they're still more challenging than a house shot. Some of these guys are really, really good, and they can make those lanes look pretty good, so pretty easy. And unfortunately, I'm not in that category, or at least I wasn't this year. So let's see, I got one more up here. Do you have a favorite surface for use, and do you ever use high Avalon pads with or without polish? I don't polish my balls a lot. So I don't have a high rev rate, so typically I'm looking to get the ball to hook a little bit more. Every once in a while, I'll actually polish a ball, but that's really kind of on the rare side. I'm very seldom going to touch a ball with 1,000 or more. I'm usually looking at 500 or 360, and once in a while even more surface than that. That's one-handed. Now, when I bowl two-handed, yeah, I'll probably have some stuff with. I'm not normally going to put surface on those balls, but every once in a while I have. So, because usually I use them on. I have lots of oil. Well, let's see. Have you ever thought of buying a microphone for your computer? I have a microphone. I forgot to put it on. I guess maybe I should go put it on. Go get it. Give me a minute here. I'll be right back. So I can't think of everything. I'm getting old, so. I know that for whatever reason the microphone doesn't work as well, so I do have this portable mic that I use, and I will put that on, and hopefully this will work better. Sorry about that. Good thing you asked. I wouldn't have thought about it. I did last time, but I didn't this time. I was trying to be more prepared this time. Let's see. All right. Hopefully the microphone's working. All right. A friend from long ago bowled on tour back in the mid to late 80s. Do you remember a guy named Greg Nesbitt? Yeah, Greg. I was thinking he bowled more in the early 80s. I think he kind of was bowling when I was first on tour. And then I think he got in the bowling center business, and I haven't seen Greg in 30 plus years, 35 plus years. Seeing you in Lakeland, Florida, was too shy to say hello. Okay, hello. Looking at PBA bowlers' major titles on the PBA website, was surprised by how many could have finished the Super Slam. Okay. Yeah, I never did do that. I never won the Tournament of Champions for some strange reason. I think I only made the top 5 of the step ladder once in the Tournament of Champions. I don't know why. And the one year I did, the scores were really low. I think I averaged like 212 or 214 and led the tournament by like 150 or 200 pins. And then the pattern was slightly different on the TV show, and Ballard ran over everybody, including me. So, did you feel left-handed bowlers had advantage over you in PBA Tour? Why does it seem sometimes that all finalists in TV shows are lefties? That only happens once in a while. Yes, at times left-handers have an advantage. At other times, left-handers don't have an advantage. That's just, unfortunately, that's one of the big conundrums of professional bowling and bowling in period is, the left side gets way less use than the right side. So the guys that design oil patterns and their machines and everything, they try to design it so that it, quote, is perfect, but there's no perfect answer on that. So it, it it's a really almost an impossible job that they try to do, trying to get the the left side and the right side to play kind of equal. It's just never going to happen. But over the years, we've had left-handers who've done very well, and we've had right-handers done very well. So um, I mean, I don't. I would say a left-hander on tour, the mentality on it got to be a lot different than the mentality on the right side, because it seemed to be the left side had a lot more hit and miss, where it was harder to, quote, shut out the right-handers, just because you're not going to get all left-handers cashing. I mean, even if they did, there's still going to be spots for the right-handers. Unfortunately, it happens the other way around, where there are tournaments where left-handers don't cash. We just had that on the senior tour. I didn't bowl those tournaments, but they had the World Series of Bowling, the very first tournament. I think they had 8 out of the top 16 were left-handed, 4 of the 5 in the step ladder were left-handed. And then the next 3 events they had at the same house, using the same lane machine. Now, they were different patterns, but the patterns, when you look at them and you look at the first pattern, you're like, why would this one pattern be so much better? And the other 3 patterns, I don't think the lefty cashed in those 3 events, which to me is, and I know the lefties didn't like it. I mean, that's just really unusual. I mean, I don't know that's even ever happened before. Even years ago, we had tournaments, going 3 tournaments in a row that lefties didn't have one player cashing. That's very unusual. Of course, those tournaments were also, instead of the normal 1 out of 3, I think there were 1 out of 5 cash spots. But even still, very unusual to have such lopsided, that way, for more than one event. What advice would you give someone that struggles with overturning the ball at release? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by overturning. You're talking high rev rate's what everybody wants to have these days. The thing is, if you have a high rev rate, you need to have good ball speed. For me, the best way to do that is get the ball in the swing sooner. The sooner you get the ball in the swing, it's going to make your feet go faster. It's going to give you a little bit higher backswing. Those 2 things, they're going to create more ball speed without more effort. So, but it just depends on what you're talking about, turning the ball at least. So, but rev rate's what everybody wants. I'd like it too. So that's why I've kind of fooled around bowling 2-handed. What was going through your head after you made the Big Four national TV? Well, it was a lucky shot. I can't remember the exact scoring at that time. I was probably behind because I ended up losing the match by 20 pins, so it didn't really make any difference. Everybody makes a big deal about it, but I lost the game by 20 pins, so it didn't really matter. If it was in the 10th frame and I picked it up to win the game, that would have been something, but that didn't happen. I still lost the game by 20 pins. You ever played any of the classic bowling video games that you were in? No, I really haven't done that. And I like video games, but I never got into those. In 2000 and 1989, you were in the final 5. You definitely could have finished the Super Slam. Same goes for Pete. He never won the Masters, and Norm Duke never won the Players' Championship. Okay. Winning all those tournaments is not simple. Winning one tournament's not simple. There's a lot of good bowlers who never won a tournament before. Oh, spinning it. Well, that's a different thing. Spinning it, where it's kind of like a helicopter release, I guess, is what you're talking about. And that's basically because you're not staying under the ball, which is not easy to do. And learning how to do that, basically, take some lessons from one of your local pros. That's going to be your best bet on how to figure that out. My best advice is to get a really light ball, like an 8-pound ball that you just can palm, and just throw it from the foul line. Don't even take a step. Just put your left foot in front of you. If you're right-handed, put your left foot near the foul line. Put your right foot back a little bit, and kind of twirl the ball and get the ball to hook, and get that ball to go this way. So it's rotating. That you want to get that side rotation on it. And when I do my clinics, I show people how to do that. And most people, they can't do it right away. It's something you have to learn how to do. And I can do it, but me doing it in competition is a little more challenging because it's kind of knowing how to do it and being able to do it with your wrist and everything. It's just a very challenging thing to do. But my suggestion, get a lesson. That's definitely going to help you a little bit. But learning to stay under the ball, and like I said, if you get a light ball and learn how to get under the ball and get around it, that's going to help you. But again, translating that into a ball that's heavier with your thumb in it, a lot more challenging to do. But it gives you a little idea what you're trying to do. You are on the cover of a few of them. Okay, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but the video games. Yeah, a long time ago. Some people actually thought I was worth something. But is winning all 5 majors one of the hardest achievements in PBA bowling? Depends on who you ask. Jason Bomani, there's been a couple guys do it. There's only one guy who's won 47 titles. So you tell me what's more difficult. But I was very fortunate to be able to bowl well for a long time. So, okay, let's go back to the other. I'm working on 2 computer screens here at once, or whatever. How's my shoulder? So I had my surgery 8 weeks and a day ago yesterday. So it's been just over 8 weeks, and I started physical therapy a week and a half ago, and it's okay. I can't do a whole lot with it. I can touch my nose, but that's I can't go much higher than that. That's about it. My range of motion is very limited right now. My doctor told me it would be about 6 months before I bowled, and I think that's pretty spot on. I'm even wondering if I'm going to be able to bowl, because right now it's like my arm doesn't want to do a whole lot of anything. So doing all these exercises, and I'm getting a little better at doing stuff. But it's definitely frustrating and a little bit of a challenge that I'm going to have to really take my time and do all these exercises and stretches and stuff to hopefully I'll be able to bowl kind of like I did before. So you were the only one who came up to me after my accident. Oh, welcome, Jeremy. Good bowler. Okay, let's see. What size ball do you use? I use 15 pounds. Been using 15 pounds since the late 90s. I can't even tell you the exact year. I just know that one year I was bowling a tournament in Japan, and I didn't bring a spare ball with me. I thought, when I get there, I'll just drill a spare ball. And they didn't have any 16-pound spare balls. So I drilled a 15-pound spare ball, and I'm like, well, this felt kind of good. So when I got home, I drilled some strike balls for 15 pounds. I was player of the year several times on the regular tour, and I have a low rev rate using 15 pounds. So I'm not sure that there's 1 or 2 tournaments when we had long patterns that I drill a 16-pound ball, but I really didn't see a big difference. So, when you are pitching, I notice you do so from the longer distance, but could go shorter as a senior. Why is that? Well, so part of it is I'm really not. I didn't agree with the moving the distance or the age. It was 70 years of age to pitch the shorter distance, and they moved the age up to 65, or the year you turn 65. I actually could have moved up last year and played competitively that way in competition, and I'm still pretty decent, even though I'm playing left-handed, which is kind of odd. Because I won all my championships playing right-handed, but when I was younger, I broke my finger, broke my wrist. I learned how to play left-handed, and I was decent left-handed. I was much better than the average person playing competitively. But I was so much better right-handed. It was never a big issue. And then over the years, 2003, 2004, my back-to-back years at the World Tournament, I didn't average 70%, which for me was absolutely awful. And I'm like, you know what? I think with a little bit of practice, and if I just pitched all the time left-handed, I think I could get close to that. I wasn't expecting to get better than that, but I knew I was about 55% left-handed. So I thought, yeah, you know. But at one time, I was 85% right-handed, so I was very, very frustrated playing horseshoes. And I thought, I could have a little bit of fun, it turned out the next 2 years I actually averaged better left-handed than I had right-handed the 2 years previous, and I actually finished second at the World Championships playing left-handed those 2 years, which kind of shocked a lot of people, even me. I was kind of fortunate. There was a couple of top players that weren't there, so had they been there, I probably wouldn't have finished second. But the same guy who won this year won those 2 years, Alan Francis. He's been winning pretty much nonstop since 1994, which was the last time I won the men's world championship. And Alan's just a phenomenal player. This year it looked like he wasn't going to pitch that great, and then he got it going in the championship class, and he averaged almost 87%. And all the years I pitched in the World Tournament, I only had 1 year that I averaged over that. So, kudos to him. He's a phenomenal pitcher. I wasn't able to play this year because of my surgery. My doctor's like, yeah, even left-handed, I don't want you pitching, and I still haven't pitched a horseshoe. So he said take 2 months at least. So I might start pitching in a week or so. Let's see. But I'm still pretty decent. I part of me is like I'd like to go to the shorter distance, but the other part is that I also don't have control of my hand like I used to. I've gone to 30 feet and pitch. I can pitch 30 feet the shorter distance, right-handed. I could probably do it left-handed too, but what I'd like to be able to do is play like right-handed at 30 feet and left-handed at 40 feet, but they won't let me do that. So it's a little frustrating that they have a rule specifically for me. Ever played cornhole or billiards pool? You seem like you'd be pretty good. I've played that, but like anything, you got to practice. And cornhole doesn't really interest me that much. I know a few horseshoe pitchers gone into that to play it and gotten pretty good at it, but it just doesn't really interest me. So, and like anything, you got to practice and practice and practice and get really good. And those guys that are really good are really, really, really good. It's not like, oh, it's an easier game, it's easier to do that. Well, it might be a simpler game. It might be easier to put a bag in a hole, than it is to make a ringer from a horseshoe. But still, it's all relative. You still got to be better than everybody else that's playing, and those guys have been playing for years and stuff. And I'm 65 years old. My body doesn't cooperate as well as it used to. So, play pickleball. I've done that once or twice. I wouldn't mind doing that, but just haven't really got into it that much. I'm feeling all right, Derek. How did I hurt my shoulder? Apparently bowling. Actually, I was bowling. It was last December. I was bowling a doubles tournament in Houston, and after the tournament, my shoulder was kind of sore, which happens a fair amount. But the next day, it was still sore. And that was kind of unusual because normally by the next day it feels better, and I could still bowl, but I definitely felt that something's not quite right. And obviously now it's like I should have gone to the doctor back then and said, let's get a look at this, but I didn't do that. And in fact, when I did when I was bowling in league in the middle of February, I did bowl and really hurt it, and I knew that, and I'm like, oh, this is. Then I went to the doctor, and they did a scan on it, but it didn't really show a whole lot, and they gave me some pain meds and some muscle relaxers, and then I got a cortisone shot, and within a few days I was able to bowl. So now I bowled regionals and stuff, and so it was kind of that. But then in June, beginning of June, I was packing my stuff at a hotel, and I lifted something that was a little on the heavy side. It wasn't super heavy, but it was heavy enough, and I moved it the wrong way. And when I did it, I was like, oh, this is not good. And then I went and did some bowling, and by the end of the second game, it's like, oh yeah, this is not good. I can't do this. So I managed to move up my surgery and was able to get that started as soon as I could. So, and it turned out the surgeon said it was a lot worse than he thought it was. So, um, but I guess that happens a lot. I go in. I've heard that story more than once where somebody was doing something, and or the surgeon went in there and was like, "Oh, it's way worse than we thought." Magical. The bowlers in their 40s would have second spikes in their career, which explains how dominant you were in the 2000s. I don't know that I had a spike, but because from 1986 to 2010, I think I was only out of the top five about three times, but and that was basically in the early like 89 and 92 or something like that, 90 maybe. There was about 2 or 3 years there, but I, I I had a long stretch there where I was in the top five or whatever, usually the top two or three at the end of the season. So it wasn't just then. Do you know what Ron Palumbi has been up to the last 29 years? He just seemed to disappear from bowling. Well, I don't live in Erie, Pennsylvania, so I couldn't tell you. I haven't seen Ron in years, and he hasn't even tried to bowl in senior tournaments, so I don't know what he's doing or how he's doing. I hope he's doing all right. He's right at my age, so he might be a year younger than me. Do you know? Let's see. Have you ever had a foot problem bowling? I'm having that now with gout. I've had minor issues with my feet, but nothing that stopped me from bowling. This is one of the two times that I've actually had something stop me from bowling. A couple of years ago, or a few years ago, I should say, I actually had pulled groin muscle, and that that really affected me. And I had a pulled groin muscle back when I was like 30, and it affected me then. But this was way worse, and it really affected me. And then I also had I've had two hernia operations, but I also planned those surgeries so that it was after the schedule or whatever, and I was able to not miss major tournaments and stuff. Who do you think is the best bowler as of August 2025, regardless of title, just pure talent? Well, everybody argues about what talent is, and some people think talent is just talent, and yeah, there is the talent thing, but usually you work at it, and that's how you get good at something. I know both EJ and Jason basically grew up in a bowling center and had the ability to bowl a lot of games and have put the time into it, become to sharpen up their skills and be as good as they are. And a lot of the guys on tour were in that same similar situation, and those two, I put those two basically at the top. Anthony Simonson's right there, but EJ and Jason, yeah, definitely. And Jason, I have to put Jason above EJ right now, but the way EJ's going, it's very possible he's going to pass Jason. I don't know, but to get 7 Player of the Year, that's not easy to do. Jason has 7 Player of the Years, which is very impressive. He did it like, I don't know, in a 15 or 16 year period, which is really, really impressive. It took me 25 years to do that. And right now, EJ's on track to get to my number of titles. It's a matter of his body holding up and how much he wants to bowl. Jason probably won't, just because he's got different circumstances. He doesn't live here in the States. He lives in Australia. So it's a huge commitment for him to come over here and bowl events and stuff. And he's got 4 kids and a family that I know he misses his kids and his wife when he travels, and that's just a really rough thing that he has to deal with. And things change and you don't realize it. So when you're young, this is this, you don't even think about it. But it's those two guys definitely are 1 and 2 in my bucket list right now. So let's see. How do you not hang up in the ball? I know you said you make your thumb tight. Well, what I do is I suggest having that thumb hole nice and tight. But I think a lot of people, I'm using my left hand, they actually kind of clench their thumb like this to grip the ball. I've given lessons to people, and they would throw the ball and they would drop the ball, and I can usually kind of tell, and everybody's a little different, but I like to see a little loft in the ball. And when their ball's hitting the foul line, basically, I'm like, okay, let's put some tape in that thumb hole. I've put up to 9 pieces of tape in a guy's bowling ball before, because they were squeezing the ball so much and they didn't realize it. I just kept putting tape in there, putting tape in there, putting tape in there. And pretty soon they started, and it's just a matter of, and it might be the pitch you have on it. If you've got too much of this kind of pitch, it's hard to let go of the ball. When you got the away pitch, it's easier to let go of it. But it's the compromise between one and the other. So I'm not a ball driller, but that's the kind of thing that you want to talk to a ball driller about. If you're having a ball that you're hanging up in all the time, you might want to look at those pitches. And it might be more, how it might not be just the forward and the away and stuff. That's or the under. So it's definitely something to talk to a pro shop guy about. Let's see. This question is still tough to decide because it seems to be opinion based. Does the same Steve Akers ring a bell to you? Steve Akers. Not really. EJ is definitely going to win all 5 majors and finish the Super Slam. Possibly. There's no guarantees in the world. Mark Roth was considered one of the best bowlers ever. You know how many majors titles he has? 1. So, okay, let's go back to the other side here. When bowling, are you supposed to keep your wrist and arm behind the ball when releasing the bowling ball in the lane to get the right rotation on the ball? Basically, you want to. They talk about keeping your hand under the ball, but it's also what you do at the point of release, and and it's hard to get under the ball. It really is, but that's kind of the nomenclature that they talk. The idea that they're trying to get is getting your hand under the ball and getting around it. That's going to give you the better rotation on it. I keep my wrist very firm, but I'm the old style. I don't get the high rev rate. These guys today, my wrist. Okay, so this is my left hand, but I keep my wrist probably about that angle all the way through. I don't move it one way or the other. Now these young guys, what they're doing is they got their wrist this way, and at the point of release, they're going that way. So they're I can't get this camera here. Anyway, so they're going like this at the point of release, and it gets that extra kick on the ball, get that higher rev rate, and the two-handed thing does that automatically. And it's something I never learned to do, and just never felt comfortable doing it. And it's hard to change stuff like that. So, and I'm not that worried about it. I did okay for a long time doing what I was doing, but there were definitely times that having a higher rev rate would have been better, which is kind of why I learned to bowl two-handed. I'm okay at it, but definitely could do that better than I do. Do I have a favorite NFL football team? I do not. With years of bowling, shoulder wear and tear of muscle and age that goes together. It have happened to me and in my career. How's my shoulder come along? It's come along okay. As I said a few minutes ago, it's been over 8 weeks since I had my surgery, and I can move my shoulder, but I can't really lift my arm a whole lot more than that. Left arm, no problem. But hopefully, with all the exercises and stretching and stuff I'm doing, and the physical therapy I'm doing, that in a couple months that'll be a lot better than that. It's definitely better this week than it was last week. So it's just a very slow process, and I don't have a lot of pain with my shoulder, but when I do some of these stretching exercises that they want me to do, sometimes that's very uncomfortable. Let's see. What steps did you take in order to make it to the PBA or professional level? For me, it was just I was bowling league, and the lanes got really easy, and all of a sudden I started averaging. I was shooting 600 every week, and then 700s, and I went from averaging 175 in January, and that summer I averaged 224 with a black beauty. Of course, that's back when they didn't have much oil in the lanes either, but they basically walled the lanes up, and I didn't understand it. But all of a sudden, I started bowling better. And I don't know if you guys can hear that. I got a little thunderstorm out there. Hopefully we don't lose power. Last night we actually lost power twice, and then the internet goes out. So hopefully that doesn't happen tonight. But um, the live down here in Florida, it's summertime. It's pretty funny. I come from California, where you get maybe 2 thunderstorms a year, and here they get like 2 a day. In fact, we had a thunderstorm earlier today. Well, unfortunately, I got a corgi that does not like the thunderstorms, and she's probably hiding right now. I got a small Great Dane. He's over there just relaxing. He's like, not a big deal, but he doesn't. If it's really close, he doesn't like it either. Like a big lightning strike. Um, so, um, so I was just bowling and got really good, and it was like I was bowling league, and one of the guys on my team talked about bowling regional tournaments, and I'm like, well, I'm better than he is. I was still in college though, so I was, and they didn't. I knew nothing about collegiate bowling. I was getting my degree in physics with a minor in mathematics, and um, but I started bowling local tournaments, scratch tournaments, or regional tournaments. I had a PCB organization in Southern California at the time, and just bowling tournaments. And then pretty soon it's like, oh, well, I cashed in a couple tournaments and I got to join the PBA. And I actually bowled PBA tournaments while I was in college. And but it wasn't a big deal to me because I wasn't on a college team or anything like that. And when I finally finished my classes, because I didn't get my degree for like a year and a half because I did my senior thesis when I was first out on tour. It took me a while to get my actual degree, but yeah, I went out on tour full time in 1983 when I was 23, and fortunately, I made a little bit of money and stayed out there. Let's see. Do you think Jim Tilton was a good player? Jim Tilton was a very good player. Again, another very good player who never won a title, but he was on TV at least once or twice. Mark Roth has two. You open. Oh, I'm sorry. He has two. I'm sorry. Excuse me, Mark. Forgive me. And for Mark's last title, he did beat me. So, and it was a pretty good title. It was a big tournament. Do you think guys like Brian Boss or David Ozio will still be competitive on the senior tour? Well, they're not. They don't bowl. David hasn't bowled in at least 15 years because he hasn't bowled. I don't think he's bowled a senior tournament since I've been bowling the senior tour. And I joined the PGA senior tour 15 years ago. Brian Boss has bowled a few times, but he's just not interested in bowling the senior tour. There's not a lot of money, so I kind of get it. But I bowl because I enjoy bowling. I make a little money at it, or I did, but it's it's just not the guys that bowl on the senior tour basically are doing it because they love bowling, and then you get a couple guys that are making some money at it. Congratulations, John Janowitz had an outstanding year again. Unbelievable. This guy, when I remember him when he first came out on the PBA tour, the lame man, and then later on I found out, oh, he won an eagle at the USBC tournament or the ABC tournament. I'm like, wow. And then later on, we actually won a regional doubles together, a member non-member tournament, a couple of years ago, and he was getting close to 50, and we're like, man, you got to go out, because I knew how good he was. Man, you got to go out and try the senior tour. And fortunately for him, that he works for Kegel, and they allowed him to take the time off to bowl the senior tour, and he's made the most of it. He's a great bowler, a great guy. Couldn't ask for a better representative, for bowling. And he's very knowledgeable and just a great guy and a great bowler. What is the lightest weight bowling ball being used? Do you see on you mean PBA or senior tour? Do you use the same weight ball for spares? I use the same weight for spares. I guess you could use a different weight ball, but then again, you got to be careful because there's some spares you want a little bit more weight. Most spares you don't need the weight, but every once in a while you might want something with a little bit more spare. Oh, we're going to get a nice lightning strike here. But I think Tom Doherty and a couple other guys might be using 14 pounds. And Tom's got he's got a strong hook, so he's okay using a lighter ball. Me, 14 pounds bowling against these guys, maybe not so much. But when you have a lot of hook, I don't think the weight necessarily matters that much. So I would say less guys use 16 pounds. I think most guys are using 15 pounds. And I think that's both the regular tour and the senior tour. Much as these guys hook the ball, I don't think they need 16 pounds, but it's hard to say. Have you thought about doing lessons or clinics while you are recovering? Yeah, but right now, I can't really pick up a bowling ball, so I have to be really careful, and I don't want to hurt my arm and stuff. So, but you know, in a couple of weeks, I might think about bowling left-handed, and I might, do like doing my own videos and showing my progress in bowling left-handed, because I don't really bowl left-handed. I know how to bowl left-handed. I've done it before, but I've never bowled left-handed for score. I'm guessing I'm probably about a 150 average bowler left-handed, and I might be a little high on that. I don't know. I have a fair amount of knowledge. I hooked the ball. The problem is right now I don't really slide. I actually got some bowling shoes to bowl left-handed, so I could actually slide. But I got to get a ball drilled and fitted for me and stuff. So, the other times I just use my right-handed ball and use the left-handed, and I know that doesn't fit right, and I'm squeezing it out of it to hold on to it. So and I know I probably throw it about 12 miles an hour on a good day. So, I definitely don't throw it real hard. I'm pretty good left-handed playing horseshoes. I think I could be pretty decent left-handed. I think, if I bowled on a house shot and if I bowled a couple times a week, I think within a year or two, I might be able to average 200 on a house shot. But it's house shots are totally different than a PBA shot. So you're looking at 30 to 40 pin difference. Let's see. Richard Wolf was the best player to not win a title. Richard Wolf had a great game. Was he the best player not to win a title? I don't know. There's a bunch of guys who never won titles. But Richie had a phenomenal game. He just, for whatever reason, wasn't able to get it to do it. And then after not bowling on tour for years, he makes a TV show at the U.S. Open, which is like the toughest tournament to bowl on. So, and I saw that happen more than once. And there's several guys, they came out on tour and weren't so successful, and then went home and, got better bowlers, came back, and all of a sudden they're better bowlers. Bob Lynn was one of them. Bob Benoit was another one. There was a few guys that did that when they first came out weren't very successful, came and then went back home, and then Tom Adcock, he bowled on tour way back when, decent player back then, but then he retired. He kind of stopped bowling on tour, and then got way better. I don't think he's better now than he was when he was in his 20s, but he's more knowledgeable and got a great game. At 62 or whatever he is, throws the ball phenomenal. So. Hey, Mike. Yep, we're doing good. Kelly Kaufman never won a title. He was pretty good. Yes, he was. He hooked the ball a lot way back when, but sometimes it's more than just hooking the ball a lot. You got to be able to control it and do the right things at the right time. Do you still live in California, or did you move? I moved. My ex-wife and her parents moved. Didn't want to be in California anymore, and so in 1998 they moved out here to Florida, and that's where I am. I'm still out here in Florida. Got a 17-year-old daughter, so right now my wife and I, we both Californians. My second wife, Nancy, we would actually probably prefer to be in California, but I don't mind Florida. She doesn't like it as much, but I don't mind it. So it is what it is. Fortunately, it's it's still the United States. So. And Jimmy Keith did win a title. Oh, he won against me. Okay, let's see. Okay. There. Did you have a favorite pro you hung out with on tour? A little bit. I used to hang out with Mark Williams and Tim Chris and Phil Ringener. We were all RVers, and we used to play golf a lot together. Let's see. We will be missing your weekly games. Yeah, I don't know if I might join a league bowl left-handed. I really don't know. I'm not sure about that. I'm gonna it's not a big deal if I bowl league or not. I know some people like that. So, can you bowl left-handed? Do you have any PBA 300 bowling left-handed? I can throw the ball left-handed. I really only bowled one game ever in my life for score, and that's when I was bowling a little scratch tournament years and years, and I mean, this is before I was even on tour, and a ball like bounced and kind of smashed my right finger, and um, it was like it hurt bad enough. I thought, well, I'm not doing very well. And I bowled the last game left-handed, so I think that's the only time I've ever bowled left-handed in competition for any kind of score. And like I said, I'm guessing I'm about a 150 average bowler. I really, I it's like anything, you got to practice, and I can throw the ball. That's pretty much it. I can actually, the timing thing. I think I'm pretty close on the timing, but the thing is I don't slide because when I bowl, I'm using my right-handed stuff, so I have my right shoe that doesn't slide. So, which is funny because if I bowl right-handed and if I stop, I'm going to fall over. It's funny because I do that left-handed, but I can't do that right-handed. So it's, I don't know if I do start bowling left-handed, what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to actually stop or slide. We'll see what happens with that. So, had a 5.6 earthquake here yesterday. I'm guessing you're in California. Yeah, I've been in a couple of earthquakes. What's kind of interesting, probably two of the biggest earthquakes I was in Tokyo. They get a few more tremors than they do in California. And the one, we were on like the 30th floor of the building. That was exciting. Yeah, let's go back over here. Where is it? Yeah, Jimmy Keith beat me in Windsor Lock, Connecticut, about 1990, 89 or 90. And I think I led the tournament by like 450 pins, and then he beat me. What was your favorite title that you ever won on the PBA Tour? I have to go with my first title, because until you win your first title, you don't know if you're going to win. And any title you win is always exciting. I don't care. Winning is kind of the ultimate. There's kind of hard to describe it. And until I won my first title, I didn't know if I was going to be able to win on tour. I didn't know. I knew I was a decent bowler. I was making money and stuff, but I didn't. I had no. I really didn't have this idea that I'm going to be the best. Have the most titles of anybody. I don't necessarily consider myself the GOAT of bowling, but I do have the most titles, and it'd be bowler of the decade, back-to-back decades, and stuff like that, and having a career that lasted, as long as it did, and have Player of the Year 7 different times is kind of crazy, and I never had any inkling of that when I was, after a few years on tour, I just wasn't my thought process. And then when I finally won a tournament, oh, this is awesome. And the next week I led the tournament, and I'm like, oh, almost won back to back, and I had a really weird thing happen there. The approach was really tacky, and I couldn't slide. My first practice shot, I actually fell over, couldn't slide. And so basically I was walking to the line to throw the ball and came down to the 10th frame, and thought I threw a decent shot, got a little firm, I guess. I had a 2-8-10, the 2-pin fell out, so I need to pick up the 8-10 to win the game. Picking up a 2-8-10 is not easy, and picking up 8-10 is a little bit more challenging. So I ended up not winning that game, but ended up being Player of the Year that year. And I was, when I won my first tournament there, it's like that was not in the back of my mind. I just didn't think about something like that. And later on, I got to where, okay, if I bowl well, I got a chance to be Player of the Year. That's kind of what I thought. I was like, well, I'm going to be Player of the Year this year. I didn't go out there thinking that, but I went out there thinking, if I bowl well, I got a chance of being Player of the Year. It's a different thought process than some people have, and I think part of that is I didn't want to put, quote, too much pressure on myself, if that makes any sense, and go out there and just basically do the best I can. That was kind of always my thought process. Go out there and kind of grind away, and keep grinding, and things are going to happen. It's not always going to be. You can bowl absolutely great and not win. You can bowl okay and win. It's just that's the way bowling is. the right things at the right time kind of thing. Um, it's just the way bowling is. It's that kind of a sport and the way they play it. Let's see. Have you ever thought about going into any aspect of the bowling business, or are you already? I've thought about it. I was actually trying to, you know, get the bowling centers here that we have at the villages. That didn't happen. Um, and then I tried getting in the pro shop there. That didn't happen. So just, certain things like that. That would have been nice. I actually had a shirt company for a couple of years, the Compass Sportswear. Unfortunately, that didn't work out very well. Nobody, not enough people were buying our stuff. That was kind of frustrating. So now I'm with Coolwick. Um, let's see. Put a sock over your shoe. Um, yeah. Well, that was a long time ago, and I didn't know about that. But I actually went on a cruise one time, and they had a couple lanes, and I the I didn't have my bowling equipment with me, so I was just using the house stuff that they had, which was not very good stuff, urethane balls and stuff. Well, they didn't know all the lanes. I was using a urethane ball, conventional grip, and I was bowling in my socks because I couldn't slide in their shoes, and I still couldn't even slide very well in my socks because socks get a little sweaty, and then you don't slide. So anyway, I think I shot like 130 and 140 for 2 games. Yeah, because basically the ball rolled out at like 30 feet. Um, so it wasn't like the ship was rocking all over the place. It's just, you know, obviously not ideal conditions, but I'd like to think I could average 180 on a strip lane, but that's even tough to do. So let's see. When is the last time you bowled a tournament on wood lanes? Wasn't too long ago. Um, I can't remember the exact house, but might have been in Virginia. But I'm actually not 100% sure. But yeah, it's this last year. I did bowl on some wood lanes. I do know that. Tom's Classic, yes. Pete Couture Land, Windsor Locks. John Crooker led the Connecticut tournament one year, yes. I think Mark Williams may have beat him that year. Yep, John Crooker, another great bowler, yeah. How are you feeling during your recovery? I'm doing okay. Slow recovery. I'm getting back into bowling competitive after 37 years, 58, and have had 2 major inner ear surgeries, and balance is not easy, but I'm trying. Yikes. I've actually had a couple of bouts of vertigo myself. That's probably nothing compared to what you got to deal with. I actually, you know, I had a couple times really bad where I had a doctor fortunately come over and do a private visit with me and prescribe some stuff for me, and then the next week I won the 2003 PBA World Championship or whatever. That was in Taylor, Michigan, and that was in the movie League of Ordinary Gentlemen, where I'm scraping the ice off of my motorhome. But the week before, I could hardly get out of my bed. How many 300s do I have? I don't know. Over 110 in the PBA, and then I've got a few more. Let's see, how many games a week would you play while in your prime or when coming up to get better? I bowled about 100 games a week when I started. I worked at a bowling center. It was free for me. It definitely helps to have a place to bowl for free. I was actually fortunate when I started getting better. One of the bowling centers let me practice there a fair amount. But I probably never bowled more than 30 or 40 games in a week back before I went on tour. Probably bowled more games after I went on tour than when before I went on tour. Probably the most games ever bowled in a week might have been 100. I know we had back-to-back tournaments back. I think in '96 we had back-to-back weeks in competition. We had 64 games. So when you count all the practice sessions, because we had I think it was 8 squads. It was 8 sessions of 8 games for 4 days, two squads a day or whatever it was. So the practice sessions before and the official practice session, I probably was about 100 games that week, those 2 weeks, and it was back-to-back weeks way back when. Let's see. Bad vertigo is totally incapacitating. Yep. It's vertigo is a nasty thing. If anybody's had to deal with it, it's no fun. Unfortunately for me, I haven't had. When I can start to feel that something's not right, and I can take some over the counter stuff, and that really seems to get it, and so it doesn't get too bad. Let's see. I know you instructed at West Valley Bowl and Tracy a few years back. They're closing on August 31st. Oh yeah, I heard about that. That's kind of sad. Um, yeah, that's unfortunately it happens. Land gets so Land is so valuable. What's my highest three-game series in league house shot and highest three-game total in PBA? On a league, I think my highest three-game series is actually bowling two-handed. I think I shot 844 two-handed. In PBA competition, my highest series is 857, and that was in 1982 at a regional tournament using a yellow dot plastic ball. So, let's see. Did you teach after graduating from college? No, I went out on tour. Um, I do have a degree in physics and a minor in mathematics, and fortunately, I was able to make a living bowling. Very lucky to do something I really enjoyed doing. I would have probably enjoyed, you know, teaching or something like that, but or working at NASA or JPL or something like that. I'm very interested in the sciences and stuff, and I very fortunate. My underhand arm swing was able to do what it did, and I enjoyed competition. I still play horseshoes competitively, even though I'm not nearly as good as I used to be. But I'm still good, but I'm not nearly as good as I used to be, and it's a little frustrating at times. But do you own bowling centers in Florida? Tried bowling, or tried buying a center to become a bowling proprietor? I looked into it. I just haven't pursued it that much. So unfortunately, I don't have that much capital to actually buy a bowling center. Unfortunately, I have an ex-wife, and I don't have all the money that I earned over all those years. Let's see. This is miss you at Wayne Webb. Hopefully, see you next year. Yeah, I was looking forward to bowl at Wayne's tournament. They had the World Series of Bowling for the super seniors this year, and I bowled well there the last couple of years, finishing first and second the last 2 years, and yeah, I was definitely looking forward to and hopefully having one good event this year, because up till when I hurt my shoulder bad, I wasn't even bowling very good. So it was pretty sad. I was looking at the stats the other day, and I think I was 197th on the point list for the senior tour. And I only bowled four. I think I bowled 5 tournaments, but still, that's really. I mean, I never got an official check from the PBA 50 side. I think I got a couple of PBA the super senior checks, and that was about it. And that's just really disappointing. So it is what it is. But I was like just coming up just short, just not. It wasn't executing. I mean, you can go and watch my bowling videos and stuff that I did back in April and May, and even early June, and it just wasn't as good as it needed to be. That's all there was to it. And it also seemed like my carry was also adding to that. It just seemed like everything was not going well. So, well, seems like we're doing all right here. Been on here almost an hour, so hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys had a chance to watch some of the senior bowling and the ladies bowling just finished up. I enjoyed that. Of course, I had a lot more time watching a lot of TV and stuff, so it was enjoyable watching the seniors bowl. A lot of my buddies and stuff. I know a lot of these guys, and even watching the ladies bowl and getting to know them a little bit. I know a few of them personally, but there's a lot of them I don't really know. So, but congratulations to all of them, and the ones that did well and won tournaments, and those that are out there having fun. So, do I have a lifetime contract with Brunswick? I do not. Hope you are doing well in your recovery. I am out till the first of the year with major back surgery. like, are you looking forward to returning to the lanes? Sure miss bowling. Yeah, that's it's it's definitely a little bit challenging, but I'll survive, and hopefully you do too. Did you watch and like the movie Kingpin? Uh, it's okay, but it's not my. Unfortunately, bowling movies, well, they tend to just make fun of bowling. So I'm not really a big fan of those, poking fun at bowling just because they don't understand it and they, make fun of it. So, all right, you guys have a great time, and I'll see you later.